Welcome into your PFF Prospect Profile. This is your Baker Mayfield edition, Sam, a guy that has absolutely crushed it in our system that's purely based off of throw-for-throw production. So we got to get right into the basic narrative and discussion about Baker Mayfield. A lot of the NFL does like him, but still question marks about his height and the Oklahoma offense and the off-field stuff. Give me your broad view of Baker Mayfield, and we'll dive into some of the details in a second.
Well, let's set out our stall right from the off. Baker Mayfield is the best quarterback in this draft. And using our numbers, it's not particularly close to him and the next guy. There is no conceivable way that you can slice the numbers, look at the grading, dissect the tape to come to any conclusion other than Baker Mayfield being the best prospect in this draft.
So when you look at just from a pure overall grading standpoint, he's had our 2 highest graded seasons that we've ever given in our 4 years. So he's got the top 2 right there, and he's also
higher than Mariota, higher than Winston, even his freshman season, higher than Jared Goff, higher than Carson Wentz. Any QB that's come out in the last 4 years, Baker Mayfield is the top guy.
So top two overall seasons. Whether we put him in a clean pocket, under pressure, against the blitz, no blitz, doesn't matter. He's always grading near the top. Adjusted completion percentage, led the nation last year, was top 2 in 2016. So every way we slice the numbers, he's really, really good. Then we went to another extra bit of data when it comes to evaluating quarterbacks, and it was actual ball location. So not just saying, is it catchable, but saying, did he put it on the front number for catch and run opportunities? Did he leave it too far behind? And calling this accurate, right? Putting it perfectly in stride or right on a guy's frame, also the most accurate quarterback in the entire class.
Yeah, like I say, there is no way you can dive into it. If you want to go to any subset you can think of, Baker Mayfield is pretty much leading the draft class, leading the nation in a lot of scenarios. Number 1 deep thrower last season in terms of passer rating. His passer rating under pressure has been over 110 for each of the past 3 seasons. He is the number 1 guy out there, but there is still a bunch of negatives, some real or otherwise, knocks on this guy that see people outside of PFF listing guys like Josh Rosen, like Sam Darnold, like Josh Allen as the number 1 prospect. So let's do some myth busting, Steve. Let's knock them all down.
All right, well, let's start with the height thing. Do you have any issues with the height?
None whatsoever. He's 6 foot, he's 215. Russell Wilson is that kind of ballpark. Drew Brees is that kind of ballpark. 6 foot quarterbacks can and do have success at the NFL level. There's just fewer of them around. And the idea that you need to be an outlier, you need to be a special case if you're going to succeed at that level, he already is. If we're talking about this guy as a surefire first-round pick, and pretty much everybody is at this point. I mean, right. He is a consensus first-round quarterback. At that point, you are already the exception to the rule when it comes to 6 foot quarterbacks. It's not, there's the chances of it suddenly becoming a problem at the NFL level when it hasn't been in college. I don't see it happening.
Right. I wouldn't put I don't like when every 6 foot quarterback is brought up and you like him and you say, well, Russell Wilson and Drew Brees, they are truly outliers. But Mayfield is an outlier as well, to your point. You have to be so special in all these other areas to kind of get over the height thing, I think. And yeah, Mayfield's good enough in that area. What about the attitude stuff? He didn't run away from the cops fast enough. We had the arrest. We have the crotch grab last year. What are your thoughts on his attitude and what actually has happened both on and off the field?
So the running away from the cops thing is bad. There's no way of spinning that positively. He didn't get away from the cop, which was a bad thing in and of itself.
We have that noted, not the greatest athlete.
But he was drunk at the time, so we can give him a little bit of a break there. It was a mistake. It's an immature thing that happened. I'm sure he regrets it, and I'm sure he's telling teams that right now. I wouldn't kill the guy over that one thing. The other attitude things I actually think are a positive. You have a quarterback for the first time in years with some serious attitude, some serious swagger, a guy that is going to go toe-to-toe with trash-talking defenders and come out on top. He's going to do the crotch grab. He's going to plant the flag. He's going to bean a guy in the head for running his warm-up lap through his end zone. I like that. Phillip Rivers spends his time jawing with defensive backs or defenders in the AFC West. I think that is a positive thing, not a reason to bring him down.
Let me add to it, because Baker Mayfield just feels like that guy that I do not want to doubt, because he's always exceeded expectations. He's the first ever quarterback to step in as a walk-on and start as a true freshman. Did that at Texas Tech in 2013. And even now, throughout the whole draft process, even just during the Heisman Trophy process, people are doubting him and doubting him and doubting him. always seems to find a way to get the job done.
And he essentially did the walk-on thing twice. Went to Oklahoma. They had no intention of handing him the starting gig, but he went out there and won the job because he was the best quarterback. So it's time to realize this guy, there's very little reason to doubt him anymore.
All right, so a lot of short guys, they get pigeonholed with a poor arm. He's small, therefore he doesn't have a great arm, but...
that's crap.
Okay.
Baker Mayfield has a cannon.
Arm. Yes.
Baker Mayfield has a cannon for an arm. He may have the second best arm in this entire draft class. Josh Allen is the consensus guy with the top arm. He has a cannon, a howitzer. Doesn't always go where he's trying to aim it, but it goes there at some serious pace. Baker Mayfield is the next best guy, whether it's the Zebra Technologies data at the Senior Bowl, whether it's the radar gun at the Combine, or whether it's just a tape that sees him flinging balls 65 yards in the air into a bucket. He has a fantastic arm, and it isn't just deep stuff. Like I said earlier, he had the #1 passer rating on deep passes in this draft class last season, but he also gets the ball into tight windows with zip. And that's where that arm strength really shows up on a down-to-down basis. It's not, can you get the ball 65 yards in the air? It's off-platform, can you fire the ball into a tight window with some zip? And he does that regularly, all the time.
Yeah, a lot of people equate the downfield passing to arm strength, and you mentioned it. There are plenty of those on film. UTEP, last year's Texas Tech, 60-plus yards in stride. The Texas game last year, too. Incredible. Yeah. Put the ball with accuracy down the field. I do like his zip, though, at the intermediate level as well. One of the narratives that is true, he does have a lot of easy throws in that Oklahoma offense. So the problem there is just when you end it with that and when you say, well, Big 12 defenses are terrible, the Oklahoma offense is really good. It's okay to acknowledge that is the case. Mayfield's, if you're just looking at his pure stats, they are inflated by those things. He had the second most open throws of any quarterback in this class, and the Big 12 defenses are pretty bad.
Yeah.
But the tight window throws, best accuracy in the entire class.
Yeah, you have to understand that this isn't a knock on Baker Mayfield. This is how you temper the expectations. So this is definitely a factor involved in his evaluation. That offense is a relatively easy offense to succeed in. The Big 12 defense is optional, so we again have to temper it a bit for that. 20% of his pass attempts at Oklahoma were screens. That's a big number, but it's not that much over what everybody else is. Everyone else, even Josh Allen, was around 10%. So you're only talking about doubling the number of screen passes on a per attempt basis. So again, it's quantifying how much you take off Baker Mayfield's dominance when it comes to that. And then the other aspect is what we talked about, which is if you change the conversation, and you say, forget about the raw numbers that are being affected by this offense and by the Big 12 defenses. Let's focus in on specific situations that are not warped by these numbers. Tight window throws. Looking at that advanced accuracy charting, again, Baker Mayfield is the best guy in the nation. So even if you remove those external factors that are an issue, the story stays the same.
And the other thing is, too, our analytics team has done a fantastic job of actually projecting which parts of these things matter. We're not just looking at Baker Mayfield's stats and saying stats are good in college, therefore they'll be good in the NFL. He's really good at a lot of the things that translate. So we've done a lot of work at saying, what does an NFL throw look like? What do NFL quarterbacks need to do to succeed at the next level? And let's take out those throws that you need to be good at, and let's see which college quarterbacks are best at them. Guess who comes out on top on that as well?
So he's the best at the NFL throw style of things. But again, what they've discovered generally is that the easiest things the quarterbacks can do, passing from a clean pocket, those are the most repeatable because that's your ideal scenario. When everything is going well, you're not obstructed by pressure, that's when you really get to see what a quarterback can do down in and down out. And when you look at just the grading on the easier throws, again, Baker Mayfield is ahead of everybody else. So as much as you want to boost Josh Allen a little bit from that Wyoming offense and take Baker Mayfield down a little bit, just looking at the easy stuff, the plays without any pressure, the easy throws, the plays behind the line of scrimmage, again, Baker Mayfield is so much further ahead of Josh Allen, who does still struggle with those.
And the other part that translates, clean pocket, but also just hitting open receivers. So he's got the best accuracy. It sounds easy, but he's got the best accuracy when hitting open receivers.
Which is the stuff that translates the most.
And that's what translates. And if you want to combat that by saying, well, he can't hit tight window throws, as we said, #1 in the class by 9%. I'm looking at it right now in our PFF draft guide that shows all of these breakdowns for all of the top draft eligible quarterbacks. So he is the top quarterback in all of the key areas.
Pretty much every area. Have we got any flaws that are actually legitimate?
We do. I was going to get there. I saved 30 seconds for them.
Nice.
So, no, look, he's not a perfect prospect, and because of that offense that does, give him a lot of clean pockets, he holds the ball a little bit too long, and I think the thing that needs to be sorted out is that his own intention to hold the ball 3, 4, 5 seconds sometimes, or is it the fact that he's been given that opportunity going up against the Big 12, 3-man rushes quite a bit, but he does take too many sacks, and that's a lot of plays where he's holding the ball too long, trying to make a big play down the field. Took 14 sacks last year that we put on him, not the offensive line. So that's a big negative. And just in general, there's not a ton of plays where it's an NFL concept where he's just really quickly throwing the pass in rhythm consistently. Just holds the ball a little bit too long, more than you'd like to see.
And again, part of that, though, it can be a positive and negative, the taking too many sacks thing. Obviously, holding the ball for too long, exposing your offensive line to protection issues, and surrendering a whole bunch of sacks is bad if it's just a trait with no purpose. But Aaron Rodgers has always taken more sacks than any other quarterback in the league, and he offsets that by not making the bad decision in crunch time. When you're under pressure, not throwing the ball into harm's way and forcing a bad pass, Rodgers has always taken the sack, overdoing that. So if Baker Mayfield's tendency to take sacks where other quarterbacks aren't is offset by the fact that he doesn't put the ball in harm's way as much as some of these other quarterbacks, it may not be a negative at all.
We have a number for that too.
Oh.
So he's not only number 1 in big-time throw percentage. Again, those are PFF's highest graded throws, but 5th best in the class last year at avoiding turnover-worthy plays. Those are those disastrous decisions that you're talking about, the passes that should be intercepted, whether they are or not, or maybe some bad fumbles. So he's always been really good at taking care of the football. Is there anything else on Baker Mayfield? Because I feel like we've just unloaded our entire database on the world right now, showing why Baker Mayfield's not only our top QB, but our top player in the entire draft.
No, I mean, the bottom line here is it comes down to what your opinion is on his attitude and his off-the-field stuff. If you're comfortable with that, there is no way you can look at the tape and decide that another one of these quarterbacks is a better option than Baker Mayfield right now. Even in terms of projecting a floor, forgetting about the ceiling, about how good they can be, even just projecting how safe a quarterback is, I think you've got to come to the conclusion that Mayfield is the safest of these guys because he is the best in all of these areas that we've looked at.
If he was 6'3", is he just the lock number 1 overall pick?
Consensus number 1 pick, and nobody's even talking about anybody else.
Well, so there you have it. We do feel strongly about Baker Mayfield, our top quarterback and top player on the board. That has been your PFF prospect profile on Baker Mayfield of Oklahoma.